This summit is about listening and learning and engaging.
It is our intent to use this summit as a gathering vessel so that we even more deeply understand the needs of the public and the challenges and complexities of the current delivery of legal services.
We are at a particular moment in which we have an opportunity to move things forward.
Expect that the future is not going to look much like the past, but above all else, think what do clients need rather than what do lawyers need.
We are in the midst of a moment of incredible opportunity, but also dislocation as we try to marry up, in a way, some traditions that the legal profession is a trustee of, that we are all as lawyers trustees of, a sense of service to your client, a sense of humanity, of due process, of justice, along with powerful forces that no individual controls. Forces that go under different labels, but I'll just use two convenient ones: globalization and technology.
I will tell you from in the other fields where I've worked on changing scope of practice rules, it is inevitable. And the question, what is not inevitable is whether it is done well and whether the legal profession joins as a contributor to ensuring it's done well or stands in opposition and slows it but doesn't stop it.
This idea that the status quo is appropriate and legal? No. For us to innovate, the status quo is always suspect, and we need to blow it up.
There are significant hurdles, but the most pernicious hurdle is fear. Fear of change, fear of the loss of control. Fear doesn't move us 1 inch closer toward justice.
It is only when you start to let control go. It is only when you start trusting other people, whether they are individuals themselves, current or potential clients, the dreaded quote-unquote non-lawyers, only when we start trusting these people to have a voice, to have a say, to have some responsibility, and to take on some measure of this program and this process, that's when we start to really see things starting to get better.
When you work collaboratively with people, when you're open to talking to people and getting different ideas, which is what William, I think, has been very open in that regard, that you can get so much more done.
If we're designing an innovation ecosystem, we don't have to do it all ourselves. What we do is create the constituent parts to enable others to innovate and participate in the same sandbox, and that then leads to greater levels of innovation. Apple didn't invent Angry Birds. It created an ecosystem where Angry Birds became possible.
The outsiders have fresh eyes, and they don't actually believe it when the insiders say, oh, you can't do that. Well, why? You know, why can't I do that? Oh, it's just the way it's always been. We don't do that. And an outsider might come in and say, well, that doesn't make any sense. We're going to try to chip away at that fundamental belief and rewrite the rules.
Our current rules, I think we can make some argument, were pretty good best practice rules for a 19th and 20th century style of practice. They stink at 21st century style innovation.
These best practices actually turn into orthodoxies. They become ossified best practices because they were developed when the context was very different. So in order to do and lead innovation at McDonald's, what we had to do is break those orthodoxies and actually overturn them and ask us the question, how would we do this if we wouldn't believe that this needs to be true?
We really need to open up the regulatory process and change the specific rules that prevent effective collaboration across disciplines.
Why did Mark Zuckerberg not decide to start a legal startup? Why? Because there's no reward for him whatsoever. And unless we allow, and I'm not talking about consultants that can bill $200 an hour. We're talking about investors and big business minds like Mark Zuckerberg who can come in and get that outsized quantitative reward. If we don't allow that, we're always going to inhibit innovation in our legal industry.
I actually think that if we let the market develop some solutions, it's not going to help everybody. That's why we have government. It's really important. But it will help a lot of things, and it will spark innovation that we can use in government and to serve people whom the market may not be able to serve.
We are losing a whole generation, maybe more than one, who are losing their confidence in our justice system. Increasingly, they believe that the rule of law is selective, unfair, and inequitably applied. We must take responsibility for strengthening the integrity of our justice system so that it is worthy of the confidence and faith of younger generations.
We have the ability to leverage our judicial authority to bring people to the table. And when we did that, we talked about the common problems and ways to solve them. We redesigned our probation office for an evidence-based practice working group. We used technology, and our most powerful tool was the cell phone. Every person in our reentry program has the cell phone of a team member. And so I can solve problems 24/7, 7 days a week. That's justice.
So we have 6,000 inmates at Louisiana State Penitentiary. I went to Warden Kane after I became a judge, and I said, I have this great idea. I know you have all these resources of these lifers that aren't ever getting out of prison, so why don't we put them to work and do something different? I would like to send people to prison and they mentor them. They train them, they parent them, they teach them, they give them social skills. Yes, social skills from life incarcerated inmates. We pitched the idea, the warden took it, and the inmates were thrilled.
Some people they never had a job and stuff like that, so by them learning this type of stuff, they really could go out there on the streets and be successful in life.
And while they're in the prison, they are being trained by lifers that have certification in different fields. Automotive welding, plumbing, there's 27 of them. This program gets no funding. We don't cost the taxpayers anything.
We don't even know the dimension of the problem because nobody gathers the data.
We don't measure quality. And that is the topic that comes up, whether it's in access to justice, consumer law, corporate law. Right now, it's kind of based on reputation or pedigree as a placeholder for quality because we're not actually measuring the quality directly.
We judge the quality of what we do by the person who does it, by the input, instead of what is the value we're conferring on the people who consume the service.
We need, as lawyers and as people inside the system, to experience what it's like to go through this system in the shoes and down the path of someone who has to go through it.
We need to rethink the service delivery model from the ground up and to do it from a consumer perspective, not from a lawyer's perspective.
We have to change the conversation with the law firms. I cannot keep talking about work and doing something creative and hearing, we'll give you a discount. How many hours do you think that is? We'll give you a discount. Could you do more hours? A discount. Hours, discount. Hours. It just feels like it's Groundhog Day in that. And we've got to move them somewhere else. What I'm interested in is how many contracts did you do? How fast did you do them? How do you do them faster next time? What's in your playbook? What did you learn from the 5 that you did that you're going to do better next time? And how are you going to teach me to change my template?
I think most corporations want their firms to understand the importance of collaboration, the importance of sharing resources, of sharing contacts, and increasingly our research is showing that more and more corporate law departments are also going to require their firms to be serious about inclusiveness and inclusive work environments.
If you don't qualify for pro bono but cannot afford a full fee, where do you turn? These are the clients that we help at Open Legal. We are a charity, but we're a charity that does not rely on charity. Traditionally, you have clients who need services, you have service providers that need to go to funders in order to keep their doors open and provide those services. Instead, we have an alternative. Clients pay for their services. We run our business in a way that allows no grant money to come through the door and still be able to function and to grow.
I want you to think that you live in Tuwip, Arizona, that little place there. And you have to get to the county seat, which is Kingman, Arizona. There's one problem. See all this green here? That is one of the natural wonders of the world, the Grand Canyon. And so you can't get from Tuwip to Kingman. This is literally the shortest route you can take. It is 320 miles, 7.5 hours. And so what did they do? They came up with a clever idea. It sounds so easy. But
But they put a kiosk north of the Grand Canyon. It's simple. It's inexpensive. You can talk to the clerk of the court. You can fill out forms. You can pay fines. You can fill out forms and file them online. And they're going to expand that to now have video participation in hearings.
Is court a service or a place? Do we really need physically to congregate together to resolve our differences, or might there be other and different methods that are easier and quicker and cheaper? And I believe there are, and that's called online dispute resolution.
MODRIA stands for Modular Online Dispute Resolution Implementation Assistance, and we started this company that builds what we call resolution centers. And in essence, they're online places where people can resolve their disputes. So what's the takeaway? I think the next justice system, particularly for online disputes, online-only disputes, are going to look a lot more like online dispute resolution than it does with the traditional court system. Consumers and citizens are increasingly demanding one-click resolutions. I believe that online dispute resolution offers many exciting possibilities for expanding access to justice. As we say, there's no A in ODR. Online dispute resolution is not an alternative dispute resolution system. In many circumstances, it's going to be the default resolution of the future.
Problem: more people than ever needing access to justice. Problem: more law students than ever graduating law school and having difficulty finding their way. At the Chicago Bar Foundation, we chose to see those two problems as an opportunity. We decided upon a legal incubator, the Justice Entrepreneurs Project. They're starting new practices, providing law to what we call regular people. They're building new models. We bring them together, we give them training, we give them common space, and a push to innovate, and boy, do they.
I spent nearly 20 years dealing with issues related to the unauthorized practice of law. The idea was to take away this unqualified, unregulated service provider. But the idea was, if we do, we still have an access to justice problem. And so our court at that point said, let's find a way to create another form of legal service provider. Triple LTs, that's the shortened version. If anybody has a better term for limited licensed legal technician, I'd be happy to hear it. They can practice on their own, and they can also practice in conjunction with law firms. Once we picked the area of family law, we limited the scope. We brought in experts in the area of family law and said, how would you limit the scope so that adequate services could be delivered to the consuming public in a way that would meet their unmet need, and yet do so in a way that would not in any way jeopardize the public?
The future of legal education has to be about training students to deliver legal services in new ways.
What are we training the next generation of lawyers to become? Seems to me what we're training to become is 20th century lawyers rather than 21st century lawyers, so we've got some thinking to do. We're seeing emerging disciplines such as legal project management, legal process analysis, legal knowledge engineering, legal risk management. The details are unimportant. The very fact that most law professors wouldn't even know what they are is disturbing, and we need to rethink what it is and how it is we teach our students.
This one-size-fits-all model of legal education is just out of touch with the legal practice world we now inhabit. It makes no sense to train the Wall Street M&A lawyer the same way we train somebody who's going to be doing routine real estate and divorce work in a small town.
This is not a problem, this is an opportunity.
This farce of, oh, there's self-help and lawyers here, that's like lawyers not wanting to use word processing or email. The future of modern legal solutions will be technology-enabled lawyers.
The lawyer of the future and the agent of the future, they use new technologies to drive new ways of acquiring customers, of serving customers, of figuring out how well they serve that customer and making sure everyone else knows that.
We're going to have to continue this conversation because I guarantee you the things that we think are innovative today, this time next year will already be obsolete.
I think innovation in the legal system is key to ensuring that our American system can continue to be innovative.
Each of you sitting here is critically important to making sure this effort goes forward. It cannot be left to the person next to you.
It is our duty, our time right now to lead.